warrior with the hands. That's what I'm all about. Hunger in my eyes, vengeance in my mouth. And I want no altercation. Situation gon' get critical. It's best that you be easy. The end gon' be biblical. Look, flow like a river. It's something like a miracle. Royalty in my veins, loyalty in my ways. Pay back in every breath. Plus revenge in my heart. The truth in every word. Bring light into the dark. And I ain't never lukewarm. Shit, I blazing in the season. Got plenty food for thought. Just gotta watch who I feed. And I've been walking with them angels. So I guess I got this pistol for no reason. Niggas barely breathing, criticizing all my achievements. Won't make me weak. Nah, it won't make me slack off. These niggas baby fat soft, better bear witness or back off. I be with the shit like sackcloth. Double dogs all blocked out. Behind me say I cut full. No room for emotion, so I pour my heart out. This road hard, but I intend to stay. And if it ain't UPK, then they in the way. My niggas righteous, they real, they down to suffer. Flow so deep, you drown a motherfucker. He say he in the truth, oh yeah? No, this the home. And I don't hate them brothers, I'm just too loyal to my own. Plus what they believe, hard for me to follow. No rank me, no head. And I ain't leaving this body, been living sleeping hollow. So when they ask I'm UPK, tell them absolutely. And I ain't shooting my ways for nothing, gotta execute it. Cause I can never die with my tail tucked between my legs. Shit I be thinking, watching my daughters tucked in their bed. They so smart, and a lot of she's so beautiful, but they ain't like other babies, and they bad and far from usual. Now I'm missing cause I'm about my father's business. It ain't about the shit I used to do in that 98 Navy. The tan never cease. See, without wisdom, this world make you weak. I found out that the truth was bitter. The lies are sweet. Tried everything. I guess me and YAHANNA had to meet. Now I make the blind see. And I make the dead speak. And teach both my little girls the anything. Lie with a man. They better bring me bloody band sheets. Chaos match the time. This Glock match my handpiece. And I ain't trying to take him out, but I will defend this house. Or take a check. 144 in that black trench on some hitman shit. She called it 47. Praying for Armageddon. Me and my soldiers dressed for the wedding. Fuck the fame. Ass why tell them I'm loyal to the king. Until the righteous reign. Loyal to the king. I want this straight lane to break the chain. Loyal to the king. The devils can't have the piece of loyal to the king. Bring the hot flame, you can loyal to the king. Until the righteous reign. Loyal to the king. I want this straight lane to break the chain. Loyal to the king. The devils can't have the piece of loyal to the king. Bring the hot flame, you can loyal to the king. We love to provide their whole operation. Certified priests, prophesied, this my occupation. This shit outrageous, they done made the truth outside. That's why we on the corner crying aloud, looking hostile. ISUPK style, they stop now. Far this warfare to the last one round. Let the oppressed rise, rise, let the rich mourn till the sundown. Enough with this shit, I'm to make it hot, call it come back. It's for my niggas, put the guns in the drugs bag. Dwelling in peace to the Lord, call for the blood. Shout inside my death, and got beside yourself. Swore drawn for what you perform, how you gon' hide yourself? Devil got to die for his lies, and it ain't got no love for the practice. No, just pull the ticket. And in my father's house is spinning mansions. I got plenty pigs, what me and features, this your death sentence. I'm talking about that day do not rise. You feel the world alive. And die for your skin. You gon' die for your pride. I'm talking to you. So war for your life, try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta let them kill. Till the devils let me get you killed. Slaughter. Now he shook for vicious words out this handbook. All right, let's get started. Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Shem Yahshabrak to all the brothers. Yahweh Shema Latham Bashem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. We're the I.S.U.P.K, which was started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. All right. This is Tuesday's night brotherhood class. Again, we are the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, the home of the truth, a school built for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the only place on earth where you can truly serve Christ, where you can truly learn to serve Christ and be who it is you're supposed to be as a Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. All right, this is Tuesday's night brotherhood class. Brotherhood being synonymous with sisterhood. It's one and the same thing. And every Tuesday in Canada, No Cowards Canada, find us on YouTube and Facebook. We have I.S.U.P.K Canada Facebook and No Cowards Canada on YouTube. Every Tuesday, we're teaching brotherhood to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Teaching that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the true children of the Most High. You are the Israelites the Bible speaks of. None of that spiritual Israelite garbage. You are a blood descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And you descend from one of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And it is your duty to do what the Most High commands you. You read about in the book of Exodus, or you can read all through Genesis to Deuteronomy, where the Most High made a covenant with his people, where he made a covenant with Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And because of that covenant, it's our duty to obey him. Because of that covenant, we're held to what it is he requires and orders us to do. Just like when you sign a contract in this oppressor's kingdom, you are bound to the things that are written on that page. You sign a piece of paper to make that $200 payment every 2 weeks. You are bound to that contract. You are bound to that covenant, that agreement. And that's what it is for every Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian living here on earth today. We're in a covenant with the Most High. You can read about that in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1 says, if you would obey the Most High, that you would be placed on high. You would be a blessed people. You would be rewarded on earth for the things that you do. When you jump down to verse 15, it says, but if you disobey, if you break that contract, then curses will fall upon you and overtake you. That's why you see Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians going through what they go through today. Why we're the most incarcerated people. Why we live in every ghetto, barrio, and reservation. Something we have to understand is, why do we live in the ghettos? Why do we live on the bottom of society? It's because of the way that we act. Because of the way that we carry ourselves. We got to learn to take accountability for the things that we do. For all the chaos and drama that goes on in our life. And the solution to fixing that is brotherhood. The solution to fixing that is sisterhood. The solution to fixing that is obeying our Father. That's a concept that we got to learn to understand.
Most High, we got to view him as a father. And if you grew up with a father, you understand that when he gives you rules, when he gives you orders, instructions, you are to obey those instructions. And if you don't, you're getting kicked out of that house. This is how the Most High deals with his children. This is how the Most High deals with the children of Israel. In I.S.U.P.K, we read out of the 1611 King James Bible. We go to the book of Exodus. Salaki, what's that verse I want? You go to Exodus chapter 4 and verse 6. And pull that up. Exodus 4 and verse 6. It says, and the Lord said furthermore unto him. Oh, Salaki, this isn't the verse I want. You go to Exodus 4 and verse 22. Exodus 4 and verse 22 says, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. You gotta understand, if you're Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you are a child of the Most High. You are a son of the Most High. You're a woman, you're a daughter of Zion. A daughter of the Most High. We are his children. And we are to obey what he says, what he commands. I'm going to bring out a story tonight. Like we do most classes. And this story is about a woman who was murdered from the police. She was murdered from a police officer. If I'm not mistaken, that was New Brunswick. Edmondson, New Brunswick. This sister's name is Chantel Moore. She's an indigenous woman, a Native Indian woman. I did a lot of research on her. I am very confident that she is a daughter of Zion. I believe she was known as Métis. The sister's name is Chantel Moore. And if she is a blood descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right, she would be known as a daughter of Zion. Now, a couple months back, I went over this story, letting our people know about what's going on in our community in Canada. And this sister was murdered from a police officer. Police officer who, quote unquote, felt threatened by this woman. We're going to get into the story a little bit because at the time the story was brought out, it was just a story about a woman who was murdered. Today it's about a story of a woman who was murdered and her family is getting no justice. The police officer who murdered her will have no charges brought to him. And if you are not in the I.S.U.P.K, when you hear something like that, a lot of our people would be screaming, where is the justice? Why isn't the system or the government of Canada working for us, for our people? Why didn't it work for Chantel Moore's family and her loved ones? If you're in the I.S.U.P.K, you understand that this system works perfectly. This daughter of Zion that was murdered was never meant to get justice in Canada. And there's a reason for that. You go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35 and verse 5, it reads, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel. You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the children of Israel. This is speaking about the nation of Edom, the oppressor, the Caucasian man, the European man, the so-called white man. This man has a perpetual hatred for you if you're a Black, Hispanic, and Native American. And his government, his rulership, this system that we live in, it wasn't created for you to thrive. It wasn't created for you to have peace. It wasn't created for you to have justice. This is your slavery. This is a place where you are oppressed. Your sons, your daughters, your cousins, your family. This is a place where you face oppression. It is not your peace. It is not your safety. Which is why, being in the I.S.U.P.K, we understand that things like this happen every day. There's no justice for a Black, Hispanic, and Native American man living in North and South Central America. Living anywhere in this world today. You read in the book of Proverbs, it says, when the wicked rule, the people mourn, but when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. This sister's family, they've been in mourning for a long time. They're out with their picket signs in front of the courthouses, screaming to the government of Canada for justice. The reason they're in mourning is because the wicked are in rulership. Being in Canada, we are under oppression, under the devil that the Bible speaks of. There is no justice for us here. This is a place where we need salvation. All right, quick shout out to the chat. Shalom, Jules. Yahweh Shemal Athan Bashim Al-Shai. Please may the Most High watch over you, sis, in the name of who the world calls Christ. Shalom, the water for tuning in. Make sure you hit that sign-in link. Like, share, subscribe. All right, the water for tuning in. All right, let's jump right into this article, right? Because again, we touched this a bit a couple months ago, and the verdict is out. There will be no charges filed against this devil that took a daughter of Zion's life. Article reads, no wrongdoing by New Brunswick officer who killed Chantel Moore. Provincial Police Commission finds. Finding comes after province announced it wouldn't pursue charges against Constable Jeremy's son. Chantel Moore, an Indigenous woman, was shot and killed by Edmundston, New Brunswick police officer in June 2020 during a wellness check at her apartment. The New Brunswick Police Commissioner said Thursday that officer committed no wrongdoing and there is insufficient evidence to show he breached his code of conduct. Right? Now, I remember specifically speaking on this incident that took place. And I vividly remember that police officer, Jeremy's son, giving different accounts of what actually took place that day. One of his accounts, he said that it had something to do with the door was open, and he saw Chantel Moore pick up a knife. I think it was a butcher knife from the kitchen. And he felt like he was in danger, so he, if I'm not mistaken, he let off 5 rounds on this sister. Right, I'm going to read that verse again. Ezekiel 35:5 says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. The reason we're living in the ghettos, barrios, and reservations is because of how we act, how we treat each other as a people, how we chose to disobey the Most High. And the way out of this iniquity, out of this oppression, is to come back and serve the Most High. But there's something else that we have to understand is that even while we're here, while we're serving our punishment, there is a nation of people that hate us. There is a nation of people that have had a perpetual hatred for us. And they have continued to do all sorts of disgusting acts against our people since we've been over here in slavery. This was a quote unquote wellness check. I'll get into the article more. I'll see this article may cover some of the story that took place, but if I'm not mistaken, it was around 2 or 3 in the morning when the police responded. I think they got a call from her mother to ask for a wellness checkup on their sister. The wellness checkup is supposed to be somebody going over there to make sure you're safe. Somebody going to your house to make sure that you're good, to help and assist you, not to take your life. And when I've read all the different findings, I guess, that were in this case, it appeared to me like there was a lot of contradictions from the original statements that Jeremy's son police officer gave from some of his later statements. I say that to say the story never added up. The story never added up, and the police did a good job of covering up for that man that took their sister's life. They didn't disclose his name at the time. They wouldn't disclose a lot of information. They wanted it to be a private investigation. Well, the investigation is done and there are no charges filed. I remember speaking to one of the priests in Canada about this story, and we couldn't figure out how in the hell would a man be scared, so scared of his life, from a sister who's having made possibly some psychotic break, to actually pull out a gun and take the sister's life. There was a story of the police officer fighting with her on the balcony. There was a story about he never entered the house and he saw her reach for a knife from the kitchen. The story was all out of order. It was just, there was a whole bunch of holes in what was being let out to the public. But needless to say, we're going to read some of the article. But this sister's life was taken, and there were no charges filed against this police officer. So it goes on to read, the Edmonton police officer who shot and killed Chantel Moore last June committed no wrongdoing, according to the New Brunswick Police Commission. The commission finished its investigation into the June 4th, 2020 shooting death of Moore, an Indigenous woman in British Columbia, and found there was insufficient evidence that Constable Jeremy Sun breached the Code of Professional Conduct. Commission Chair Mark Legger said in a news release Thursday. The release says the decision and findings of the investigation have been shared with the complainant and police officer, but the report won't be shared publicly. TJ Burke, who represents Moore's family, filed the complaints at the direction of the family. So again, they are not releasing, even after they find him not guilty, it says they will not, the findings of the investigation will not be shared with the complainant and police officer, but the report won't be shared publicly. Now, I wonder if, and I assume it's her family who was trying to press charges. I'm not going to say for sure who that complainant is, but I would love to know the truth of that story one day. The scriptures say everything done in the dark will come to light. This is how you know who the devil the Bible speaks of is because all of the disgusting acts that he has done has come to light. He put drugs in your community one day, 40 years later, you find out it was him. This is the man that we live under. This is the oppressor that we live under. Let's grab that verse. I think it's in Corinthians. We go to Slakia, 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3 says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That man of sin is being revealed on the earth. All the disgusting things, that man of sin, all the disgusting things that he does is being revealed on the earth. All you got to do is look at his history. Look at the oppressor's history. Look at the European man's history. Look at all the things that he does. All the bloodshed. All the hard bondage. This is that man of sin, and he has been revealed. The whole world is going to know who the man of sin is. It's not a hard thing to understand that the so-called white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. It's not a hard thing to understand. What really plagues our people the most is Christianity. All that nonsense and garbage they teach in the Christian church. All right, let's keep reading the article. Article goes on to read, Moore's killing spark calls for justice by First Nations communities in New Brunswick and across Canada. Moore, who had moved to the northwestern New Brunswick city of Edmondson to be near her mother and daughter, was shot by Son during a wellness check at her apartment. Son, that police officer, alleged he was backed into a corner by Moore, who he said was wielding a knife. Multiple investigations into Moore's death. Moore's death led to an investigation by Quebec's police watchdog, the Bureau des Enquêtes. I can't speak French too well. But this investigation was done by the Quebec police watchdog, known as the BEI. The results of that investigation weren't revealed, but they were shared with the Public Prosecution Service of New Brunswick, which in June announced it would not pursue charges against the officer. A coroner's inquest into Moore's death is scheduled to begin February 22nd of 2022. In an interview following the announcement, Lega said the commission usually tasks police forces with conducting their own code of conduct investigations, then reviews the findings and gives the final word on any sanctions or disciplinary action. In this case, we consider that this is really in the public interest for us to assume the investigation for the complaint. And that reason being was, of course, the Native Indian community out in New Brunswick were up in arms. I recall sharing some videos about some of the things going on down there. And so they had that Quebec BEI investigate the case. It says, Lega said the investigation was the largest the commission has ever done, and noted that changes to the Police Act would allow it to use experts in forensic identification and use of force, as well as legal counsel and an assistant investigator to assist J.R. Levesque, a retired RCMP officer and polygraph specialist who served as a lead investigator. Man. And this type of thing, being in the I.S.U.P.K, we hear stories about this all day long. Every week you got 3 or 4 new stories out regarding something like this. Police officer gets off. You had that big case, Kyle Rittenhouse just got off. Meanwhile, there was a brother who was a part of that case who actually ended up getting fined. If I'm not mistaken, he might have got charged. I think he was charged with assault. Meanwhile, Kyle Rittenhouse, who kills 2 people, gets off with nothing. This is the kingdom that we live in. You understand? This is the kingdom that we live in. And it's a sad thing that goes on, what goes on with our people. You go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 65. This was a curse from the Most High on our people. Deuteronomy 28 and 65 says, "And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest." You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we have no rest here in North and South Central America. We have no rest in the UK, in the Caribbean islands, all over the world. We even had a group of Israelites who attempted to move back to the country of Israel, to the land of Israel. And they're being oppressed out there. They're out there living in a desert, living in parks. They had a lack of medical assistance and attention. Our people are oppressed all over the world. Hey, Shalom, Officer Adiyar. Yabashina Shabrakatah. What's going on, Adawan? Thank you for tuning in. You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we have no rest over here. Goes on to read, "But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind." You understand? This sister's family has a sorrow of mind. Imagine how many people are going to grow up in New Brunswick. How many Native Indians are going to grow up in New Brunswick worried about what the police are going to do to them? How many Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans fear for their life from the police? Because these devils walk around with all their power and all their authority, and you never know what thing is going to set them off that day. You might say the wrong thing. It might just be the wrong time of day. I experienced myself it just being late at night, it being like 2 in the morning, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And these police officers were almost looking at it like a sport. to oppress and hurt our people. I remember watching this devil pull out a tase gun. 2 in the morning, pulls his taser out, tases a brother with a big smile on his face. I never forget that devilish look on his face. And when I looked at him and he saw that I wasn't drunk, he quickly pulled away his smile, put his tase gun out, told his partner, hey, we gotta stop. This is that terror that just being Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you gotta go through. This sister lost her life over a wellness call. How many times have you heard a priest in the I.S.U.P.K say, don't call the police? Call us. You're a sister who needs a wellness check? Call the men of the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K. I will gladly come over and try to assist you. Don't call the police. All you sisters who are so quick to call the police on your husband, you are trying to get your husband murdered. That 911 call is somebody's death sentence. You understand? These people have had a perpetual hatred for us. They were murderers and liars from the beginning. And we got to understand the spirit of who this people is. We got to understand the spirit of these people. So that we can make wise decisions while we're living in this kingdom. Christ said that I sent you as sheep amongst wolves. So we got to be wise as a serpent. We got to be wise out here. We got to understand how to move and operate in this kingdom. So more in the story, it says, he said investigators also found a lack of enforcement of the policy regarding in-car camera and audio recording equipment. In addition, the investigation identified a need for a thorough policy review on how police respond to calls for wellness checks. Lager said the commission has no mandate to address policy or procedures used by police forces, but said it has brought the issues up with the Edmonton Police Force. The commission isn't satisfied by the force's response. It can bring it to the attention of the Department of Justice and Public Safety. Now what I'm pleased with is that there will be a coroner's inquest into Miss Moore's death. And I am convinced that those are issues that the coroner will want to explore and probably shed more light on them at that point. Check this out. Officer to resume duties. Edmonton Police Chief Elaine Lang did not agree to an interview, but in an email statement he said, son will be able to resume his duties as a patrol officer. Elaine said son and the force have fully cooperated with the commission's investigation and will continue to cooperate during the coroner's inquest. You understand? There is a murderer walking around New Brunswick with a badge and firearm. That is exactly what's going on in New Brunswick. He was scared of his sister with a knife and let off 5 rounds in her. Why do you deserve to hold a gun? Why are you allowed to have a badge and a gun? It's because the wicked are in rulership. It says, not long after Moore was killed, Rodney Levi of Mete Penagiag First Nation was shot and killed by RCMP. And First Nations stepped up their demand for an inquiry into systemic racism in New Brunswick. Prosecutors in the Levi case opted not to charge the officer, determining that based on the evidence, the officer acted lawfully. So that's another story I'm going to look into next. But man, is it a sad thing what our people have to go through. And this is why this class is so important. Not only this class, but No Cowards Canada YouTube page, I.S.U.P.K Canada. Every Tuesday night we have a brotherhood class. Every Wednesday night we have a law class. Friday night we got a Hebrew class. Monday night history. Saturday we got a scripture breakdown and a Sabbath service. All these classes that we have teach us how to love our people. Teaches us how to be honorable brothers and sisters. Teaches us the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. How to love each other as a family. You understand? Salakia, I'll be right back in 1 minute. Bear with us. Bear with me, Salakia. Salakia for that. Where did we leave off? So we were just ending in the article. I'm going to go there. Matter of fact, let's just jump into some scripture. Right? I was saying, Salakia, all these classes that we have, right? All these classes that we have week in, week out, all of this is to teach our people how to love each other, how to conduct ourselves as a nation, right? You look at how many laws Canada, North, South, Central America has. How many laws are you taught to keep, right? You see that stop sign, you stop at it. You see that stoplight, that red light, you stop at it. All the different parking laws, driving laws, right? All the different speech laws that we have, right? In Canada, they have some no hate speech laws, right? I don't even know how to keep up with all of them. I don't keep up with half of them. But I say that to say, when you read this Bible, these are the laws, statutes, and commandments of the nation of Israel. This is our constitution. This is how we conduct ourselves as a people. We're not allowed to be murderers. We're not allowed to be thieves. We must honor our parents. You understand? We are not allowed to marry people outside our race. We're not allowed to throw our women away after we lay down with them. There are rules and instructions that we have from the Most High on how to govern ourselves as a people. This brotherhood class teaches us how to interact with one another. And if we could learn to be honorable men and honorable women, we would be worthy of rulership. You understand? Christ said that this kingdom doesn't come by observation, but we got to put our brick in. We got to work. We got to build it brick by brick. And why would Christ give that rulership to a people who are a bunch of drug addicts, who are a bunch of thieves, who are a bunch of murderers, who don't know how to forgive one another, who are going around bearing a grudge on one another, who aren't capable of making righteous judgment, not gossiping behind each other's backs, but going to Him and Him alone and dealing with our issues. If we can't govern ourselves as a people, we're not worthy of rulership. We're not worthy of having a kingdom. Which is why we're in the condition that we are. Right now, the world's in mourning. The nation of Israel is in mourning. Because of the wicked people that are ruling over us. When we're in rulership, we can't be doing the same garbage that they're doing. You understand? Let's jump into some scripture. Let's go to, where are we going to start? Let's go to the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 32. John 8 and verse 32 says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are not free. You've been in slavery for damn near 500 years. We are not a free people. We don't have our own land. We don't have our own king, our own governing body, our own money, our own land, our own language. We are not a free people. Again, John 8 and verse 32 says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I remember one of the first times I learned who I was. The water to Commanding General YAHANNA and the I.S.U.P.K. When I learned what my heritage was as a people, I remember reading the book of Exodus with such a different lens. I remember reading about their Exodus, thinking for the first time that that was actually my people, my ancestors. I actually have a history. My nation of people actually descend from someone. My nation of people actually have a language, a culture. Because we were never taught that growing up in North and South Central America. Nobody taught us our identity. And number one, just finding out who I was, it gave me an identity. It gave me something to connect to. It took away all the garbage you hear about in Christianity about spiritual Israel. About thinking you're a Gentile, thinking you're an African, thinking you're a Hamite, thinking that, you understand, you're anybody but an Israelite. Right? This devil went around showing some image of white Jesus to the world. And people believe it. You watch the movies that this devil makes, and you believe that Jesus is a white man. Coming to the I.S.U.P.K, learning the truth, you read the book of Revelations and find out Christ is a black man. You read about the curses that follow the children of Israel. Find out that you descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That you're a child of the prophets. That you're the salt of the earth. That you're a people dear to the Most High. That's a beautiful thing. Again, it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The only way blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are going to get free is by joining the I.S.U.P.K. Getting in the truth. Learning about who you are and what is required of you as a black, Hispanic, and Native American. Because without that, you're going to continue to be oppressed in this kingdom. You're going to continue to seek the peace of these devils. Nobody's going to read Ezekiel 35 and verse 5 to you and let you know that these people hate you. Without the I.S.U.P.K, you're not going to know who the devil the Bible speaks of is. The people that set traps for you. The people that hunt you. And just like what we were doing in Egypt, we were building treasure cities for Pharaoh. It's the same thing today. We're building treasure cities for these devils. We're building Montreal. We're building Toronto. We're building British Columbia, Vancouver. Without this truth, there is no freedom. Right? Go to Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1 says, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the nation that is not desired. You are the nation that everybody looks down on, calling you bywords, calling you niggers, calling you wetbacks and spits, Hispanics, Native Indians, Haitian, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, all these different bywords. We are that nation that is not desired. Everybody looks at us like we're less than. And it is an order from the Most High to gather together. To unite as a family. We got the Feast of Dedication coming up next week. That Feast of Dedication is to commemorate a war that our ancestors won. To commemorate one of our victories as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You can read about that history in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4. The Most High wants us to gather together, to unite. Not to celebrate our oppressors' victories. Not to celebrate Columbus Day, Veterans Day, and Memorial Day. Let's celebrate the Feast of Dedication, when our ancestors went to war and won. Let's celebrate the valiant men of Israel, the strong daughters of Zion. That's what we got to do as a nation of people. Too many of us are getting ready to celebrate Christmas. These holidays have nothing to do with us as a people. These holidays just create division and separation amongst us. Teach our brothers and sisters evil. Right? Let's jump to 1 Timothy. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 16. First Timothy 4 and verse 16 says, Salaki, that's not the verse I want. Salaki, 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 17. 2 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 17. It reads, "Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord." This is an order from Christ, who takes orders from the Most High, who does the will of his Father. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we got to do the will of Christ, which is doing the will of the Most High. We got to obey him and do what he commands, do what he says. He says, "Come out from among them, and be ye separate." Too many of our people are worried about joining hand in hand with their oppressor, joining hand in hand with the Caucasians, hand in hand with the Africans, hand in hand with the Asians. Our people flocking to Islam, the culture of the East Indians. These things have nothing to do with us. Christmas has nothing to do with us. It's crazy that every pastor is going to teach on Sunday that Christ wasn't born on, I don't even remember what Christmas Day is. Is that December 24th, December 25th, 23rd? Your Christian pastors are going to tell you that Christ wasn't born that day. But yet we should still celebrate Christmas. That doesn't make any sense. Your Christian pastor is telling you that Christmas is the birth of Christ. But that's not his actual birthday, but we're going to celebrate it anyway. Doesn't make no sense. You read the book of Jeremiah, it says not to celebrate Christmas. It says not to practice the way of the heathen. Not to cut down a tree and put it in your house and decorate it. Most High tells you not to do that. Christ said the same thing. Let's come out from among them and be separate. I heard a Christian say the other day that Christ came to bring peace. All they talk about is peace, peace, love, love. When Christ specifically told you, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring a division. I came to bring separation, a sword, to divide the holy from the ungodly, or the righteous from the ungodly. I didn't come to bring everybody together. Christ said, separate from among them, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. You understand? Touch not the unclean thing. Don't follow the ways of the heathen. These devils want to be homosexual. Let them be homosexual, but don't follow their ways. They want to celebrate Christmas. Let them celebrate Christmas. They want to celebrate the 1st of July. Let them celebrate the 1st of July. But that has nothing to do with you, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. That's not your culture. That's not your heritage. Those aren't the instructions that the Most High gave you. touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Every Black, Hispanic, and Native American thinks they have a personal relationship with God, personal relationship with the Most High. And they haven't separated themselves from the unclean thing. The Most High isn't going to receive you if you don't. Doesn't matter if your Christian pastor said this and he said that and he said this. This is what the Bible says. Be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. Not allowed to eat pork, shrimp, crab, or lobster. Not allowed to celebrate Halloween. Not allowed to be a drug addict. You can't touch the unclean thing. Right? Drop that, go to John 13 and verse 34. You keep coming to these classes in the I.S.U.P.K. We're just reading out of the Bible. Bible is sitting in every Black man's house. Every Black and Hispanic man's house. This is what the Bible says. John 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you. It says, a new commandment I give unto you. This is Christ speaking. A new commandment I give unto you. Why are Christians saying that the laws are done away with? The laws, statutes, and commandments are done away with. Christ said, a new commandment I give unto you. There is something you have to do. There's an instruction you have to follow. Which is a hard concept for every Christian out there. It's a hard concept to understand because your pastor is telling you the laws are done away with. Your Christian pastor is telling you all you have to do is believe in Jesus, have faith in Jesus, give your life to Jesus, pray to Jesus, and he'll forgive you for everything you do. Nobody's perfect. You can keep smoking those cigarettes. Don't feel guilty for smoking those cigarettes. Grace will cover you. That's what every Christian pastor is telling you. But what did Christ say? John 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. That is an order from Christ. You're Black, Hispanic, or Native American. It is an order to love one another. You are not allowed to hate your brother. You are not allowed to hate your sister. That is not something that you are allowed to do. The instruction that is given to you is to love one another. And it reads, that ye love one another as I have loved you. I remember those bracelets in Christianity saying, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? Put this bracelet on. Every time you get in a situation, you should ask yourself, what would Jesus do in this situation? You wear that bracelet and you don't do a damn thing that Christ did. You wear that bracelet, you don't say a thing that Christ said. John 13:34 says that ye love one another as I have loved you. That means to be like Christ, to love how he loved. And didn't Christ keep all the law, statutes, and commandments? Christ wasn't stealing from his brothers. Christ wasn't jealous of his brothers, coveting what they have and what they don't have. Christ wasn't bearing false witness on his brothers. Christ wasn't gossiping about brothers behind their back, speaking evil about them, lying on them, sowing discord amongst brethren. Christ wasn't doing these things. I would love for a Christian to show me one verse in the Bible that says Christ slept with another man's wife. You're not going to find it. So why is every Christian sleeping with another man's wife? Why is every Christian selling drugs with that Jesus piece around their neck? Christ wasn't dealing drugs. Christ wasn't a drug addict. What would Jesus do? Jesus would love his people. Christ would keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And this is how he ordered blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to love his people. All right. Let's drop that and go to Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabbat. What's going on, brother?
Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabbat.
Everything Tawaba?
Khan, what about you?
Khan, it's good to see you. Tawada for coming out. We're about to jump into the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6.
Khan.
You can grab that for me, Bob Fisher.
Khan, I have it right here. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
God. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Most High's people. We are the children of God. We are the children of prophets. We are the salt of the earth. The people that are above all people on the face of the earth. The Most High knows every hair on our head. We are a special people to the Most High. You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Most High's people, and we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We're destroyed for thinking that we're Haitian, thinking that we're Jamaican, thinking that we're Canadian, thinking that we're American, that we're Negro, that we're African American, thinking that North and South Central America is our rest. is a place where we can thrive and be successful and have peace. You understand? These are the things we're destroyed for. We're destroyed for thinking that we can get along with the so-called white man. Right? Keep reading.
Because God knowledge.
Read.
I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be Muslim.
This is why we're rejected as a people. This is why we're in the condition that we're in. This is why we're not in the land of Israel. Why we're not in Jerusalem. This is why we don't have the protection of the Most High. The Most High said if we would be perfect, that He would be a buckler to us, a shield, a protection. We would listen and obey Him, that we could dwell under the shadow of the Almighty. But because we don't listen, we're rejected. We live in poverty. We live with mice and roaches crawling around our homes. We live paycheck to paycheck, getting minimum wage. Right? In some states, I think they're at like $7 an hour. I remember a couple of years back in Indianapolis, they were at $5 an hour. I was 16. They were at I think they were at $4.25 an hour in the state of Indiana. We don't listen to the Most High, we get rejected. We live in poverty. We don't have the power to defeat our enemies, the power to defeat the people that oppress us, because we don't listen. Right? Keep reading.
Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Because we don't listen to the law of our power. We don't listen to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Understand? We don't think that, or we think it's okay to eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. There are blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who think it's okay to be homosexual. To have boys dress up like little girls. Canada just passed a law, I think that was last year, maybe 2 years ago, that it's legal to smoke weed, that it's legal to be a drug addict.
It's like it was 3 years ago, Adawan.
God, was that 3 years ago now?
Khan.
God. I remember that day at work. God, I work in construction. That day at work, everybody on the job site was high. Everybody decided to be a drug addict that day. We've forgotten the laws of the Most High. The Most High said that these herbs were for medicine, for healing, for medicinal use. not to be a drug addict. You understand? We have forgot the law of the Most High. And because of that, the Most High is not with us. The Most High doesn't protect us. Just like any father, right? You got kids, you're a father, you got a 15-year-old son, what do you tell him? You tell him, what, don't go hang out with those people. Don't go do drugs with those people. Don't hang around ungodly people. And if you don't listen, Lord be with you. I can't help you. I can't protect you. If you're not going to listen to my instructions, I can't help you. Lord be with you. That's what's happened to us as a people. Yeah? Can you grab 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3, Baba Kasha?
Khan.
1 John chapter 5 and verse 3.
This is the book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous.
Right? And this is love. This is love according to the Most High. Christ commanded us to be like him, to love like he loved, to love one another. This is what love is. Read that again.
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous.
And it's not a hard thing. Commandment to love another Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. It's a commandment to love our people, to love our wives, to love our children. That is an order from the Most High. It's an order from Christ. To keep the commandments of the Most High. Because that's what love is. The Most High told us not to be drug dealers. The Most High told us not to be thieves. The Most High told us not to bear false witness. To honor our father and our mothers. The Most High commanded us to love our bodies, to take care of our bodies. Not to smoke cigarettes, not to eat pork. Ordered us to be clean. To bathe ourselves, to wash our hands, to quarantine. Not to mix blood with each other. All these different laws commanded us to be a healthy people. Commanded us to love one another. Not to inflict interest on one another and oppress one another. But to forgive, not to bear grudges. To show mercy on one another, to forgive one another. The weightier matters of the law. This is how we love one another as a people. Right? Is that the end of the verse?
Wakan.
Let's grab Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
Envy thou not the oppressor. This oppressor is a wicked devil, is a cruel bastard. You look at his history and everything he's done to our people. Why would you try to be like him? Why would you envy him? Be jealous of what he has. Covet the life that he has.
Salakia,
Come on, go ahead.
I just want to say this precept right here, Proverbs 3 and 31, is so powerful right now because of Thanksgiving that's coming up in the US and Christmas that's right there, right after Thanksgiving, you know? We should not envy the oppressor nor his celebrations, having a feast with the family, receiving gifts or eating a turkey, and we should choose none of his ways, since those are pagan holidays.
Damn right, huh? And if I could add on to what you're saying, I remember being young. And I remember one year my mom getting me a couple PlayStation games, and all the games were what do you call it when they're shoot, what's the name of that when you copy the games or you burn the games off the computer? Shoot, what was is it called an emulator, a game emulator, something like that? Anyways, I remember my mom one year she bought me like 10 PlayStation games. They all cost $5 each from some bootleg thrift store, and did everything she could to have some big nice day. And then a week later, was at the food bank getting tins of food so that we could eat. You understand? Proverbs 3 and 31 says, "Envy not thou oppressor." These wicked devils had us in the cotton field for 200 years, building up their wealth. They got money upon money, business upon business, all the wealth in the world. That is not the same life that we have. So they're gonna try to. Go ahead.
Like I said, it goes well with Thanksgiving and Christmas, but it actually goes with every single celebration they have, whether it's Thanksgiving, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, you name it. We should never choose none of his way and envy that oppressor because he's having a big feast, he's having a big party, he's enjoying himself, he's having fun, he's getting drunk. We should not envy him because of that, because we feel like we want to do it. We should choose none of his ways because those are, like I said, pagan holidays and it goes against our culture.
So, I feel like this oppressor, he follows every lust of his imagination.
Khan.
You understand? Right from the start in the book of Genesis, right? It says the Most High created man in his image. He gave us the ability to follow instruction, not to be like these beasts, not to be like these animals, just to sleep with whoever we want when we're horny, to eat whatever we want because we're hungry. This is how this oppressor lives. You understand? You saw how he gave his blessing away to Jacob for some food so he could eat now. This devil, this oppressor, he follows every lust, every imagination in his mind. If I'm not mistaken, I remember some of the last laws I was following going on in Canada, talking about how it's legal to love a tree. If you want to love tree, you can love trees. If you want to identify yourself as a pigeon or a penguin, you can do that. Like this devil, the things that he comes up with, the things that he imagines, like these are the things we need to stay away from as a people. Because his ways are disgusting. His ways are foul. His ways are wicked. So why Christ said to separate ourselves, separate from among them. Even when Christ returns, he's going to divide the sheep from the goat. Going to put the children of Israel on his right hand and the nation of Esau on his left. And there are a lot of judgment and punishment coming to that nation of people for all the wicked things that they do. That is not a people that we need to envy or follow or impersonate, try to be like. They are the devil that the Bible speaks of. They are disgusting people. Scriptures say there is nobody more profane as Esau. We need to choose none of his ways.
Salak one.
Come on, go ahead.
Again, I also wanted to add how the scripture is so powerful because recently there's a movie that just came out, King Richard, about Serena Williams and Venus Williams' father, and this is powerful because these sisters actually envy their oppressor, and
Mm,
they went to the oppressor to marry them, and one of them
okay.
actually wears blonde hair now, so much that
Come
she's trying to emulate the oppressor that bad.
on, come on. Well said, huh? That's exactly what we do as a people. We don't understand who we are as a people. We don't understand what we can be as a people. King Solomon said, he said, I see servants upon horses, people who were meant for rulership in a low place. He understood that the nation of Esau was meant to serve Jacob, was meant to serve kings, princes and princesses. The nation of Esau was meant to be a servant. Wasn't made or meant to be in a high place. Imagine having a daughter, a princess of Zion, royalty, and she wants to go and marry and act like a servant. Go marry somebody who's less than. Act like somebody who's less than. She is the princess. She is the royalty. Everybody wants to be like her. Every gay man is trying to be like her. Every white woman is trying to be like her. Get all the Botox in their lips and their butt, to try to get the same body and shape as a daughter of Zion. We are the salt of the earth. You understand? It's definitely on point with what you said. This is how destroyed we are as a people. We don't understand who we are. Right? Let's drop that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6.
Khan. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
So let me catch up with you. Read that again.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
God. You are a holy people, Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. You are a holy people, Black, Hispanic, and Native American woman. Unto the Most High. You are separate. You are different from everybody else. You're not like these other nations of people. You are a holy people. Every Christian pastor is telling you, we're holy, holy, holy. Be holy. Be separate. Be set apart. This is who you are, Black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. You are holy. Not the Asians, not Moab, not Ammon, not the Edomites, Elam or Ham. You are a holy people. Keep reading.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
Unto himself. You understand? In 2020, this is what Canadians would call racism. In 2020, Canadians would go around saying that we're all the same. We all bleed red. Let's all integrate. Let's all unite. Most High says, you are a special people unto himself. You and nobody else. And that should be one of the greatest things to hear if you're Black, Hispanic, or Native American. Because the whole world's telling you you're less than. The whole world's telling you to cut your hair off. The whole world's telling you not to talk the way you talk. Not to be so masculine. Not to be so feminine. Not to dress the way you normally dress. The Most High says you are special. The way your mind is, you are special. The way you were built, you are special. Not these other nations. Keep reading.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Above what?
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
We're not equal to everybody else. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are not equal to these other races of people. This is the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You are above all people on the face of the earth. You are better than everybody. When are we going to act like it? Titus, or not Titus, Salakia. What's the brother's name? Sorry, I'm going to skip that. Read this verse one more time for me, Baba Kashan.
Khan, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
This is why it's one of the saddest things for me to see the state of our people. All the things we've invented, all the things that we're capable of. We shouldn't be on the bottom of society. We should be in rulership. We should be ruling the other nations. And until we start learning to follow the instructions of the Most High, we're going to continue to be in the situation that we're in. All right, let's drop that. Let's go to Proverbs 9 and verse 10.
Khan. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 9, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
This is the beginning of wisdom. You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That's where we are today. Read that verse again.
Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
And this is the beginning of turning everything around. To fear the Most High. To understand who we are as a people. To understand that the Most High is not playing around with us. That we're out here dying in the streets because we disobey Him. We don't have the protection of the Most High. We should be looking at how our life is, and we should be afraid of what will come next if we don't obey the Most High. We should understand that all the chaos that's going on in our lives is because we don't obey the Most High. We're in the situation we're in because we don't obey the Most High. If we're going to get out of this condition, it starts with fear. It starts with understanding who the Most High is. You read through the Old Testament, the Most High was known as the terrible power. Israelites were afraid of His judgment. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were afraid of what the Most High would do to them. Right back to the book of Exodus, when they were in that desert, they saw Moses, they saw the lightning, the clouds, the thunder in that mountain. They didn't want to talk to the Most High. They didn't want to stand face to face with the Most High. They were afraid of Him. You understand? There is a type of fear that is very good for our people. Read about in the book of Ezekiel. Look what the Most High did to Ezekiel's wife. Look at your life. Look at the last 500 years over here in North and South Central America. Go play Roots. Go play, what's another one? Django. 12 Years a Slave. Look at some of the things our ancestors went through. Read about some of the nightmares around Thanksgiving. Read about Pancho, the women and the children that were burned alive in those tents. Just look at what's happened to our people. Look at this last year. Look at this article we just read today. All the boarding schools and the electric chairs on these residential schools. The 60s scoop, all the crap going on in Canada. This is your life, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. We don't have the protection of the Most High. Keep reading.
And the knowledge of the holy is understanding.
Let's drop that. Let's go to where we at. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. We got to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments as a people, following the orders of Christ. Christ said to love each other as I have loved you. Keep the commandments. Follow the orders and instructions of the Most High. Understand? And to be holy, to be separate, to be different from everybody. Everybody on earth follows their own lusts. The scriptures say that the heart is deceitfully wicked above all things. So why would you follow your own mind and your own thoughts? Why would you listen to your own thoughts and what you think is right? Don't follow your own lusts. Don't follow your own thoughts. Follow the instructions of the Most High. Do what He says to do. All right, go ahead and read that.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
This is what we got to strive for as a people. Every Christian pastor is telling you that nobody can be perfect. Nobody is good. Everybody's sinned. Everybody's fallen short. But what about the good works that Christ told you to shine amongst men? Good works. You got to actually do something. We have to repent from the ways that we've been living and actually do something. And that's how you're able to identify the type of what type of man somebody is. By what he does, how he lives, how he carries himself. Look at his work. his work produces, the fruits that he bears. You understand? We have to be a holy people, separate from everybody else, keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And this is how we would influence other brothers and sisters in our nation to do the same thing. If we would love the way that Christ told us to love, then we could show other brothers and sisters how it is to live a better life. Brothers and sisters, to see us have 40-year marriages because we forgive our wives. We're not bitter towards our wives. We work out our issues and communicate with our wives. We lead our wives. We have healthy marriages. Another brother or sister can see that, they can say, well, maybe they're doing something that I should do. Maybe they're right about something. Maybe the decisions they make and the life they live is also good for me. This is how we heal a nation. It starts with taking accountability of ourselves and what we do and how we live. Like they say in the world, your actions speak louder than words. Christ said, let your light shine. Your integrity, your honor. Keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. Let other brothers and sisters see how you're living. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law of the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Come. Every Christian pastor is going to tell you that the law is done away with. Christ said, don't get it in your head that I came to do away with the law. You understand? The Most High said, don't steal. Thou shalt not steal. Don't be a thief. And your pastor believes that now it's okay to be a thief? The Most High said, don't eat pork. Now your pastor is going to tell you it's okay to eat pork? That doesn't make no sense. Christ kept all the law, statutes, and commandments. And he told you to love one another as I have loved you. To be like me. To let your light shine. To be an example to other brothers and sisters. Don't get it in your head that it's okay to be lawless. Don't get it in your head that you don't have to obey the Most High. Not one jot, not one tittle. Nothing. Nothing what the Most High ordered to you is done away with. Keep reading.
Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot and one title. So like one jot or one title shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled.
Keep reading.
Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven.
And this is what your Christian pastor is teaching you to be. He's teaching you to be least in the kingdom. He's teaching you to stay at the bottom of the society. The pastor doesn't want greatness for you. He wants you to be least in the kingdom. Keep reading.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Ah. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being at the bottom. I'm tired of having less than, of building treasure cities for Pharaoh, slaving 60 to 70 hours a week, watching my people suffer. I'm tired of being at the bottom, which is why I follow Christ. And nobody can force another Black, Hispanic, or Native American to do so. That's something you got to want for yourself. That's why Christ said, choose life. Don't choose death. Choose life. Choose something greater for yourself. Value life. Reach for something greater. Change your life. Stop living like these other nations. Stop following your oppressor. Separate yourself from his ways of life and love your people. Right? Keep reading.
But whosoever shall do and teach them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Keep
20.
reading.
For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven.
Ah. And that righteousness has to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees. We want to enter into the kingdom. We can't be hypocrites. We can't be telling people to do one thing and we're not doing it ourselves. We can't be telling people to keep the law and not be doing it ourselves. But our light has to shine. We got to be an example. We got to show people how to be a good brother, how to be a good sister. You understand? If you're Black, Hispanic, or Native American, you do that by following Christ. You do that by joining the school of I.S.U.P.K, following the brothers who follow Christ. Yeah. And so with that, I'm a little over time. I'm going to end the class there. Let's clap it up. All right, this is Tuesday night brother class. We're going to do the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. Make sure you hit that sign-in link before you leave. I'll get that sign-up link in the chat before I shut it down. All right, we're going to do the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to speak. Salakia will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find it in Numbers 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. priest fund. Freewill offering for priests is not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. This coming Sunday, we have the Feast of Dedication, also known as Hanukkah in the Hebrew. You can read about it in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verses 52 to verse 61. Again, it's coming up this Sunday, November 28th. With that said, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers and one courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M, which means stand. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat, I.M.A.J.M, Barak, Yahweh Shim Yahshai Barakatam, Yad Yamatah, Sar Akwatin. Going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat, I.M.A.J.M, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Alatan Bashim Yahshai, Yad Yamatah. Class dismissed.
These rappers back to school, the flow standing hook. They crossed the line, ain't no coming back. You became no cowards. The only thing sweet is the honey check. Righteous is the Lord. Give me rest from my sorrow. And hands down, left for the devil. There's no tomorrow. Why? Cause we gotta leave a man skip course. You see a flag in the bench, I see boards in the pitch. So please believe it. The white man is a demon, and I ain't gonna go for them to free me. They read us to me, they got a purpose, why this night till they broke like ceiling. You got this nigga on his knees, they wanna have peace. We screaming, let this bitch burn at 1,000 degrees. The man in the bosom of revenge. I told her I'd do anything she pleased, as I squeeze on the double D's. Fuck you, man. So, so war for your life, satisfy my people.